Hello there, food lovers, and welcome back to Stuff, the podcast where we talk about cooking, our favourite ingredients, and getting creative and inventive in the kitchen.
It's hosted by me, George Egg, the snack hacker, and the voice you just heard, Martyn O'Dell, the Lagom chef. This is a show all about making food accessible, fun, and above all, delicious.
Absolutely, George. And each week, we'll be chatting about some of ours and our listeners' favourite stories.
And ingredients and
things.
But what's important is that you head to our socials.
Media.
Find us on Instagram at The Stuffed Podcast. Subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends about it.
YouTube.
And let's spread the word.
YouTube. We're on YouTube. Where do I look for that? George, it's been a long time.
It has been, you see, for the listeners, they don't know. But
don't worry
for
about
them,
them.
they just go, oh, well, it's next week. But no, for us, we've had 2 weeks, 3 weeks off, something
We've had
like that.
holidays.
We've had Easter holidays. Have you had a nice Easter?
Lovely. I went snowboarding.
You've been all over the place.
I went to France. We went to Switzerland, flew into Switzerland, Geneva.
Distance between the two. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. Looked like fun.
It was lovely. I love snowboarding. I love the mountains.
Tell me about the food. I don't care about the snow.
Well,
I don't care about the boards.
Fun.
I don't care about the hats.
Helmet. Always wear a helmet.
Goggles.
I wore sunglasses because it was spring. So what did we eat?
Food.
We ate lots of chips, constantly eating chips. And I had a burger on the first day, which was breaded chicken, goat's cheese, caramelized onions. And it was just,
sounds alpine.
And it was very big. Lots of omelettes. They do a good omelette, I must say.
How do they do omelettes differently from here?
I think it's like lots of butter, and it's that kind of like ripple, and then it kind of like catches a little bit, and then it's still gooey in the middle, and I love that. Yeah, cheese and ham, and then we had a fondue on the last night, which was unbelievable.
Did they? Because I've had cheese fondue where they've put a bit too. Is it kirsch they put in?
Yeah.
Bit too much, and it was just that kind of a little bit kind of like it didn't need it. Did they get it right?
Garlicky, winey. Wonderful,
but not too winey.
And you have to have it with I think a charcuterie board. You have to have it with the pickles and the charcuterie plate. It was Noah's first fondue. He didn't really get stuck in with us, but I was like, "Have you ever done a fondue before?" Because we had this little book, and it was like ticking off all the things that you'd done. So it's like, go on a sleigh, do this, do that, and then it was like fondue. It's like, what's a fondue? And I was like, mate, don't you worry. Mummy and Daddy are good at this.
And is it just bread that you dunk in it, or do you dunk everything in it?
Yeah, I mean, you dunk it,
Dunk
your
boy
face,
in it.
So there's, the cheese fondue is traditionally just like sort of staler bread, so it stays on the old gubbin, and you can dunk it in. Charcuterie thing with pickles to cut through, and you need at least 7 bottles of white wine to help lube it all down. And then there's the fondue. Is it fondue chinois, which is like they call the Chinese fondue, which is what you have like a broth, and then you put
Yes, I've done that a lot more
in.
When I was growing up, my parents had a fondue set, and that was what we'd go for with the fondue was plate of raw meat and veg, hot broth.
We used to do oil, so we used to go to France a lot, and we used to do the thing of oil, and just it was so dangerous when you think about it.
It
was like deep frying bits of meat, and it was so good.
Fun though.
Yeah, very fun. Then we did that, and then I'll talk about other things later on.
Or was it like
maybe
relevant to later?
Maybe, baby. What did you eat? Where did you go? Did you eat chocolate? How much chocolate?
I'm not nuts about chocolate, to be honest. So I didn't. I mean, I had some. My go-to, to be honest, there's a chocolate that I'm so into at the moment. In fact, I'm going to say how much I'm into it so that they send me some. No, it's the Malteser Bunny Popcorn Special Edition.
All right, hashtag Malteser gifted. What are we looking for?
You know, like you get the tiny little bunny, and it's the Malteser Bunny, but it's got popcorn in it, and it's just got that little bit of saltiness, and there's a crunch to the popcorn that. Anyway, it works for me.
Great.
So I had a few of those.
Who are they from? Cadbury's or?
I don't know. Who makes Maltesers? Cadbury's, something like that. One of the big ones.
People.
One of the big boys.
Big boys.
One of the big fellas.
Well, I was with Tony. I did Tony's, didn't I? Tony's chocolate.
You did Tony's with the spinny spinny.
Spinny with Kahlua.
That was very fair. If any listeners haven't, seek out Martyn's ad where he does some beautiful eye acting.
Shall I do it now?
Eye and face acting. For the listeners, he's making some very subtle expressions, but they are funny.
It was quite funny. They were going, right, you've sort of got to be a little bit camp, but not too camp. And I was like, if I go camp, it's like 0 to 100. So there was like less camp, and I was like, okay, but I'm trying.
It was
cheeky.
Spot on. It's so funny. Yeah. So listeners, it's Tony's Chocolonely and Kahlua. Chocolonely. So it's an espresso martini in a chocolate glass, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah. Good. But anyway.
So I didn't have a lot of chocolate, but had a nice Easter. I tell you what I did do, which I've never done before.
Go on.
You know, I like a little bit of foraging. I foraged nettles.
Oh, I thought you did.
You've seen them.
I've seen
You've
it.
seen footage and
I
everything.
know.
But-
I was going to ask you.
But no, I've done every year. I've said
There's so many everywhere.
there's so many everywhere. But do you know the reason why I've never done it before is every time I go, I'm gonna forage nettles, I haven't got any flipping gloves with me.
Mate, pick the bottom bit of the stalk.
That's what they say. But you tried doing that?
Yeah, I used to do it as a kid all the time.
Well, I've tried and I always get stuff. I mean, we had gloves. We had like builder's gloves on, but still got, they get up a trouser leg or they get up your sleeve or whatever, or there's a tiny hole in the glove. You go, ow, I've got a little pain there.
Get your welding gloves out.
I thought these were good enough, but they weren't. Anyway,
what
still
useless thing did you make with them?
A load of listeners. He's too dismissive of the foraging thing. It's fun.
No, not foraging. Not foraging. Just certain foraged pieces, ingredients. So what delicious ingredients?
Two things I made.
Gone.
I made nettle beer, which I've brought with me for us to try.
Great.
And now your eyes are opened. Nettle beer, and then I made nettle quiche for Easter Sunday. We went to visit my daughter on her boat, and I made a nettle and wild garlic and Stilton quiche, and it was absolutely. It was delish. And so I put parmesan and mustard in the pastry.
Yeah.
Got it really crisp, and then cooked down the nettles with wild garlic.
Quick question.
Yeah.
What do nettles taste of?
Spinach.
Really?
It's slightly different, but quite spinachy, yeah.
I could get on with that.
It's just fun, and there's something about picking stuff for free, and never done it before.
Is there a specific nettle you have to pick, or is it just the generic stinging nettle?
You have to pick the new growth. So when they start to get flower heads, apparently there's something chemical in there which can be not good for you in some way. I can't remember. I did read about it, but it's gone in one ear and out the other.
Dogweed.
But I suppose it's with any foraging is always dogweed, but I think you wash it, it's gonna,
Pick the high ones.
But yes, so the new growth, which comes in spring, and then also comes when they get cut down or when they die down, and you get new growth in November often as well, apparently.
Okay.
But yeah, basically the top few leaves. That's it, really.
Because the small ones are the violent ones, aren't they? The bigger ones aren't so violent at stinging.
Oh, I see. I didn't know
think.
that.
I'm maybe just making things up.
Have you ever had any nettle accidents when you've fallen in them, that sort of thing?
Well, I was a big fan of Dirty Sanchez back in the day. Like Matt Pritchard was just like my idol, and now he's like my mate. It's quite funny.
Lovely guy.
But we used to just copy whatever they did. And they used to like roll around in stinging nettles. Me and my brother just spend days just like, what should we do? Yeah, and we used to run around stinging nettles and slapping it on.
I remember stinging nettles being not as bad when I was younger. The sting. I remember getting stung when I was a child.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then a few hours later it was fine. But I find now the last few times when I got stung when I was picking them, like the next morning, it's like still feel it.
Emotional.
It's weird.
It's emotions.
No, it's the actual like, little tingly pain.
Really?
Anyway, do you want to try some nettle beer?
Yes, please.
All right.
Oh, here we go. Oh,
Some
nice
little
glasses.
Well, I just thought we've only got great big glasses. Nettle beer.
Ha.
There we go.
Doesn't that look great? You've really done a good
beer.
job with cutting that green tape with a Stanley knife.
I know, and then look, and then that happened. Listeners who are not watching on YouTube, I've got my green tape here, like the bear, and it's slightly creased in the corner.
Oh, it's a bit of fizz.
Little bit of fizz. So what you do? Shall I tell you how you make it? First of all, let's pour some.
Yeah, go on.
So what you do, you get a load of nettles, masses of nettels. You boil them down
smells like
for about
sourdough
15
starter.
minutes. Oh, it's rough. It's like the wine in The Good Life, where everyone goes like that. Cheers.
Quite it's revolting.
I know it isn't. I rather like it. It's like, do you know what it tastes to me? It tastes like cider from a farm.
No, it doesn't. It tastes like you're licking a spoon.
Come on, everyone.
It
Have a
tastes
try.
like you've got to the end of the yogurt and you're like sitting there thinking with the spoon in your mouth.
It's got a weird smell.
I mean,
It's like a combination of like melted plastic and metal
thank
spoons.
you, Sadie, for not.
I don't actually mind that.
I think it's nice.
We're allowed to have a preference.
It reminds. I know.
Cider.
That's what I think. It tastes like Middle Farm, where you get the cider in the barrels.
We're allowed to have an opinion.
Oh
George.
no, of course. Opinion is divided.
Exactly. I don't know why you raised your face at me.
Well, I was just disappointed that you didn't like it, as one would be if. Imagine if you cooked something and I went, "Oh, no, I don't like it." You'd be like, "Oh, come on."
It's
like
honesty.
it.
Honesty. I'd much rather you be honest about something than be like, because imagine if you came over again and you made it again.
I think
because what if I turned up at your house and you're like,
I think you
I
didn't
made
think
loads
about
of
it for
nettle.
long enough.
I did.
You're like Rick Stein.
What do you mean?
Watch any Rick Stein footage.
Yeah.
If he gets given something, he goes, "Oh, it's absolutely delicious." You haven't thought about it yet.
No
You
one
haven't
does
given
that.
it a
The
chance.
internet's ruined it for everyone. No one thinks about it. But that instantly hit my mouth and I didn't like it. I'm sorry.
Well, fair enough. Anyway, listeners, Opinion is divided, and some people here liked it. So if you do want to make it, you boil nettles.
Go on.
You squeeze the liquid out. You mix it with sugar. You add a bit of cream of tartar, some champagne yeast. Let it ferment for 3 days in a bucket. Put it in a bottle. Put the lid on. Carries on fermenting a bit, and you get a little bit of fizz. Although I decanted that so that it didn't kick all the sludge up.
Sorry, mate. I didn't enjoy that. Can I have some water?
Well, I tell you what I think
Good
makes
segue.
this all interesting is palates are so different.
Thing with like apple ciders and all of those kind of things, that I can deal with like a bummy ferment. I think
Yeah.
it's just the sweetness that I'm craving.
But what I think is interesting is how sorry, don't put a hand on your knee there.
Just because that one's not on anymore.
Yeah, no evidence. I
No
can
evidence.
grab him. It brings up two interesting things for me. One is the difference in palates. The second is the craving one has as someone who makes food for wanting the other person. You know what I mean? I know that I'm very needy when it comes to making food, and I will, and if I've got a guest round, and like we'll have a dinner party or whatever, and I'll cook, and there'll be someone there who's just eating the food, and you kind of want to go, say something, tell me it's not,
Should we mic him up?
but you know what I mean? You kind of crave that,
Yeah.
that appreciation.
Should we move on to question of the week, George?
So, the question of the week. Every episode, listeners, we have a question. We pose a question at the beginning of part 1, and then we answer the question at the end of part 2. Do you want to read the question, Martyn?
Okie dokie. It says, which meat dish is said to have gotten its name from riders who kept the meat under their saddle? So, like maybe like cowboys doing like a yeehaw under their saddle. Maybe they wanted to keep it warm. I reckon if we did like process elimination, if it's under their saddle, it's got to be flat.
Yes,
it won't be like a custard tart.
It was a meat dish as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it won't be a quiche.
Meat custard. That sounds like something
Yeah.
else. Yes, so it's going to be like quiche Lorraine, like that. Going, it's all misshapen, it's ruined.
Something flat.
Yes, my immediate thought was kind of jerky-ish, biltong-ish kind of thing, but then that's not going to dry out if it's under a saddle. It's going to stay.
Yeah, maybe it's like a quesadilla, a case of saddle.
Saddle. What could be saddle?
Burrito,
Word. It's got its name from riders who.
My brain instantly goes cowboys or Argentinians. Because Argentinians still do a lot of stuff on horses, don't they?
Yes.
In the beef trade. So I think it's going to be something flat and beefy.
I'll just go for, I think it's a schnitzel. Well, that's flat.
Flat and beefy.
I don't really think it's a schnitzel, listeners, but you never know.
Well, there we go. Well, we'll come back and we'll have a little listen to the answer to the question a week later on in the show.
Yes. So don't miss that.
That's the answer.
Listeners.
That's the answer.
So each week we have an ingredient. It's your turn to choose an ingredient. Sometimes it's seasonal. Sometimes it's not. This week it's not seasonal. It's just a thing.
A thing?
What is it?
Pork. Pork.
Is pork your favourite meat? Because it is mine. Often I'll find myself in a situation where you're going, come on, you've got to choose one meat. Which one is it?
Yeah.
And I always would go pork.
It depends. It always depends what I'm doing.
Yeah, but what if you were pinned down and told you have to choose one now or I'm going to cut your boy off?
And I'll take a sausage. Wait, no, it's one of those hard ones. I mean, pork is one of those ones that blends across so many things.
I'm Mr. Crippled by choice, so it's unfair me saying to you, you've got to choose.
No.
But pork is versatile, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is the most versatile of the meats, would you think?
Yes. Well, you got sausage, you got bacon.
Hold on, just give me a minute.
He loves the sausage, this boy.
I was messaging Martyn yesterday saying to him that sausage is the best thing. And he was replying, going, "Well, it's relative, isn't it? And it's like, it's subjective." And I was going, "Yeah, but it is the best thing."
But you said the best thing on earth.
Only the best thing ever. Not even on earth. I mean, anywhere, like in your imagination. And I was challenging Martyn to come up with things that might be better than sausage. And he said, for example,
going to the rugby with my mates.
Going to the rugby.
England beat France 26-25
Yep. And I said,
Six Nations.
And I said, I bet it's great, but it isn't as good as sausage. And then I said, because I'm older, I do get final say. Then you tried another one. You said catching a fish, I think, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, go back. Well, I tried to make it relative to what we've done together.
And I said, no, absolutely brilliant. Love it, but not as good as sausage. And then he said, I'll bring you some sausages tomorrow. And I said, oh, no, not for me.
So I have.
Have you really? I love sausage. I mean, I'd still eat them.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
I might have one in a
so
minute.
pork,
So I'm just going to tell that because sometimes people only listen. He's given me 30 cocktail sausages. Carry on.
You can eat them. Open them
I
up
know,
and start
they're
eating
all-
them.
they're all-
I love
they're-
them. I love them when they go a bit sweaty. We just drove back from Cornwall and we had them, and then it was an 8-hour drive because of the traffic on the old M5.
8 hours.
And they just got so sweaty. These are from the journey, so they've been sweaty. They've been cooled down. Sweat. No, that's not joking.
Thank you. They're so easy to eat, aren't they?
I wanted to intro my thing because it's going to take a little while to warm up because I want to make it really bloody delicious.
Tell me all about it.
So I'm going to show you. You unravel this, and
Okay.
I'll start telling the story. So I was down in Cornwall recently, and in here is some dinosaur toenails that we went on the Jurassic Coast. We found, and we crushed them down, and
We both bite our nails. It would be.
It would be funny.
Would be appealing.
No, so what is in there is a massive slab in slices of pork belly. So I went and saw this guy called the Aussie Smoker, this wonderful man, I've forgotten his name because he literally messaged me when I was coming down. I was like, come down and see me. So I went and saw him, and he gave me so much stuff. He gave me pork belly, he gave me ribs, he gave me smoked butter, smoked parmesan, his glaze, his rubs. And I went there like 9 o'clock in the morning down in Falmouth, and he fed me a focaccia with pork belly, and that was it, and some mustard and mayo. So we're going to recreate that.
I could not be happier. Not only is pork my favourite meat, pork belly is my favourite cut of my favourite meat.
You put those slabs in there.
So this is
I cut it really thick, so it's really outrageous.
big, thick
Come on,
slices
put it in.
of.
Warm
Oh,
it
sorry. Of pork belly. Should I put more than one in?
Yeah, put 3 in.
I'll put them all in. I'm banging the mic and
Who eats
everything,
meat?
folks. I'm so
Rudy eats
excited.
meat. So he has his own signature rub that he rubs all over it, and then he has his big old smoker. So he does a mixture of cold smoking and hot smoking. But the pork belly is one of those ones that I think is like the most forgiving cut of pork because you can cook it for ages and ages and ages, and it just gets better and better and better, and it melts away. And you just got to take your time.
And just to be clear, the pork that you're frying now has already been cooked, so it's not raw pork belly. It's pork that's been long slow cooked, so we could have eaten it as it was then. But you're getting a nice bit of crisp caramelization and texture and warming it up at the same time.
So Jordan, who is the guy that started helping him out, and he made a focaccia. So I rushed the focaccia. It's not my best ever focaccia, but what I wanted to do is have a little play on flavors. So we've got the pork belly, which is obviously very fatty.
Yeah.
And then they got the focaccia. Thank you, Sadie.
Thank you.
Which they did a bit of honey and thyme. So I put a bit of honey over the top, so you got that sweetness.
Yeah.
I made some sort of slightly sweet pickles, and then I bought some mustard,
pork and mustard. Oh my goodness.
and then I got some mayo as well.
Mayo, why not?
Why not? So we're going to make that. But I thought while that's cooking, we can talk about pork cooking.
I mean, it feels like a bit like when we did pasta and when we did potatoes. It feels like one that we could probably come back to several times and have a completely different conversation each time. So why don't we focus on slow cooked pork things? Has pulled pork? Have we reached peak pulled pork?
I don't know. I kind of feel like pulled pork has its place. I'm not a fan of it in a bap. I feel like it sits in like a burrito style, like rolled up, something to cling to, because sometimes I feel it a bit stringy. Like when you eat the bacon, you go,
I would say so much so. Whenever I've done it, I've felt like I've had to not add fat, but kind of save the fat that's come off and then really sort of soak it in that. Otherwise, it can get, because I think that whole thing of, I mean, like you were saying with pork belly, it's very forgiving, and you can cook it for a long time. But that sort of myth that you can, if you're low and slow cooking meat, that you can just do that for as long as you like.
Yeah.
There actually is a point where it gets perfect, and then beyond that, it will start to get dry. And I think often with pulled pork, it is actually a bit dry because it has been cooked for too long.
Yes, I do think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's when it's so you can do pulled pork with like the shoulder, isn't it? The shoulder's the one that
that's
you
what I'd
normally do
always
pulled pork with. But I think if the shoulder's quite lean and then you do a pulled pork with it, then that's where you don't get that kind of like juiciness. You need the fat, and that's the brilliant thing about pork. You can get very lean cuts which need to be served pink.
Yeah.
And then you get your fattier cuts with the slower cooked things like your bellies and all that kind
Right,
of
I think
stuff.
that's why belly is just so good, is because the fat to lean ratio is 50%, maybe even higher sometimes. I mean,
you see the amount of fat that's come out.
But good stuff, and you want to save it as well, don't you? And use it.
Look.
Oh my God, will you look at that? So I'm just going to describe for those people who are just listening, there are 3 thick, massively thick slabs of previously cooked pork belly that Martyn is moving them around in the pan, and they are so fluid and floppy, and aren't they though? I mean, they're not.
Oh, senorita.
And so caramelized, and the smell coming off is incredible. I'm just looking admiringly at this. Talk about what you're doing.
So I've got this focaccia that, as I said, I think
with the honey.
I think with focaccia or breads, it's like if you can remember one recipe, everything kind of stems from the same thing. So 500 grams of flour, 1 sachet of yeast, 350 to 400 mils of water, and then sugar, olive oil, salt. Pretty much everything ends up being pretty similar. So I did that, and then I just didn't do the second proof, hence the reason it's a little bit flat, but it'll be all right.
I remember getting a sausage in Berlin once. I think I've talked about this on the pod before, and it was like about a foot long, the sausage, and the bread that it was served in was probably about, like, I don't know, 5 centimeters diameter roll. So it was like that big piece of bread, and then this sausage coming out like a big smile. But it was really just the way of stopping you touching the pork. Oh my God! Careful,
Mate,
careful on my trousers.
Street food vendor.
No, look,
that was you.
These are the same trousers. It's the pork.
Come on, look, I've
these
done
are
three ingredients.
These are the same.
One.
Well, I've just realised I've worn the same trousers that I got oil on before, and then I did your WD-40 trick.
Did it work?
Well, I had to like boil wash them a couple of times, so I don't know if it was the WD-40.
Senorita, let's get some of that fat on the top.
Careful of the trousers.
Baggy trousers.
You're less baggy these days, especially after too much pork.
Here we go.
Should we eat at the same time? No, one of us should eat and one of us shouldn't, so we can talk about it. I'm going to eat as well.
It is unbelievable. I ate so much of this last night. Oh,
those cucumbers.
So this is the thing with pork. It's obviously good, like the fattier cuts, like a pork belly, your shoulder, all of that kind of stuff. If you just have it, it needs something sharp or something sweet to kind of work with it. So that's when you think naturally roast dinners, pork and apple sauce, sweet apple sauce. But then when you have pickles and all of that kind of stuff with fat, it just senorita, isn't it?
That is just heavenly. That's so good.
And the great thing about Adam is that he's very sharing with what he does. Like, he doesn't just create these products. He does weddings and all that kind of stuff. And he does this for like bowl food and whatnot. But his whole mission is to go, right, I'll go to a street food vendor who's doing bagels. And I'll say, do you want to use my product? And they'll use his product so that he's kind of getting this like sharing kind of community thing. And he'll go to spaces and they're like, do a pop-up. And he's like, nah, I want to bring you customers and get them to know about you. So he gives them the pork belly, the ribs, the burnt ends, everything. And it's
when you said bowl food, what do you mean?
So at weddings, at the end of the event, like instead of like you having like a terrible buffet of like you know, deep fried stuff, which is delicious. Bowl food is when you get like a tiny little bowl and there may be like a burrito bowl. So you'd have like some rice, some pork belly, some pickles. Right. It's just in a bowl. So you kind of have it like that. Like a canapé, but a bigger canapé.
This feels like you could go in so many directions with this. You could go, sort of Japanese ramen-y kind of thing.
I love it. I love smoked things anyway, but like well done pork belly. That's the best way to serve pork belly, I think.
So that would have been done in a big smoker barbecue thing. And
that was frozen. So you'd cooked it, frozen it, defrosted it. Well, I defrosted it when I got home. And then, just cut it into thick slices.
But when he cooked it originally, that would have been done in a big smoker, low, slow, with a rub on the outside.
Yeah. But I think it's like a great way. I think when people, either tend to do like parties or if they're doing like a roast dinner, restaurants I've worked at, is like when you do a big pork belly, you cook it, once it's cooked, you would chill it so that all the fat sets. Then you can slice it, and then when you fry it, you kind of get that really nice fat crisp, and then it just warms through, and it's like melt in the mouth good. So that's why I love pork belly like that.
A couple of thoughts on pork belly.
Go on.
While I cut, I want some more just of the pork here.
Less carbs.
Is pressure cooker. So I know I'm always banging on about the pressure cooker, but you can. I got pork on me.
No, mustard.
Mustard
Face.
I'm such a mess. I'm just about to talk, but I'm going to eat this first. Oh my god. Yeah. I find you can cook pork belly in your pressure cooker, then let it go cold, then do similar thing that what you've done there, and you get a very similar, effect that it's super soft and tender, and
There's a lot of tutorials on the air fryer as well, where they do the air fryer pork belly, and it's like the Asian. Lots of like Asian people do it with the, I don't know what they chao sui.
I don't know how it's pronounced, but char sui.
Charles Sweet, yeah, that one. And they do it in like a rectangle with the tin foil that's kind of like pulled up just around the sort of the meaty bit with the crackling left on top. And then it's salt and vinegar, brush it with vinegar to sort of draw all the moisture out, more salt, and then they bake it for a bit and then scrap all that off and then blast it again. And then you get that Uber
Eats.
Crispy, puffy, crackling. Love it.
Here's something we should talk about.
Go on, hit me.
Total other end of the spectrum, rare pork. Because, of course, one of those things that people forever have said, oh, you shouldn't have, you've got to make sure your pork's well cooked.
Yeah.
I've been doing a little bit of research on the way up on the train. Apparently, the problem with that, the thing that can make you ill, the chances of that happening nowadays are something like 0.0000037%, something like that. Apparently, less likely than even the rarest diseases of catching even the rarest diseases. But because of this sort of what is almost now, a myth, has built up, people still think, oh, you can't have rare pork, whereas actually,
I had a pork tomahawk in St Ives at a restaurant called Ardor I went to last summer.
Yeah,
and it was unbelievable, like a big chop like that, and it was just like unbelievable, like not like rare like you would have a steak, but just that sort of like thin strip in the middle of like pink, and it was it's just unbelievable. And everyone thinks like pork chops are tough and rubbery and dry. It's because you're overcooking them.
Just because everyone's paranoid about. Yeah.
And I always say get a temperature probe. Just go on the internet. I think it's like 55, 56 degrees where you can cook a pork chop to, and then take it out, let it rest, and then eat it, and it will be succulent. Brining, I'm a big fan of brining, and my old chef Bobby used to brine pork chops, bit of brown sugar, make it like a 5% salt solution, orange, bit of cinnamon, and all of that.
And this
then
is for flavour or for tenderising?
Both.
Or for,
right. Yeah, it's just, you drop your pork chops in, and then just leave them for like 4 or 5 hours, take them out, pat them dry, and then when you cook them, they just retain so much moisture. They say it's not, is it reverse osmosis? I always forget. It's like the exchange of water. So it's kind of like you have like meaty water that's not too tasty, and then delicious salty briny water, which is wonderful. And then it's the salt solution. They switcheroo, and then
I think that so the salt draws the moisture out.
Yeah.
And then it gets drawn back in, but that's the salty water, which means that everything's seasoned kind of from within.
Tenderizes and it's just banging. But yeah, pork fillet. I went into a farm up in, I think it must have been somewhere north. I don't know. North of London, and it was with Waitrose, and it was to look at their standards of pig welfare and all of this, and it was unbelievable. The one thing that I did find a bit sad, you went to the first bit, which is like the family zone where they're all like the little babies, they're cute, and then they go off to this other bit, and mate, they have the best life. They were just like rolling around, blah, blah, blah. And then I got in the car and I was like, suckling pig. And I was like, how old is a suckling pig? They were like, well, think of it, suckling. I was like, that's small. I was like, that's really out of order. That's the only thing that triggers me with pork, I think, is suckling pig.
I remember going to I did a comedy festival in Rotterdam years ago, and they had this where it was all around a really cool part of the town where they had this big sort of warehouse with kind of different food outlets in and different venues, and there was all these trestle tables in the middle, and there was a suckling pig being served. And it was weird. I'd never seen one, and it's just, it does look like a cooked child. It's pretty dark.
It is. But that's the thing, like when we went on this trip, like lots of people were going, oh, it's going to really upset you. And I was like, well, it didn't, because their life was brilliant. Like the people that cared for them, the amount of space they had this like shitty, muddy jacuzzi. They were just in it, just like, and just having a wild time. And then, and it was delicious.
It's weird, isn't it, though? It's that kind of moral thing. There's a comedian, I can't remember his name, is this Finnish comedian. He's so funny. But he's just got this whole bit about free range stuff and kind of going, they're all having a nice time. Surely you should kill the unhappy ones. And it's just switching it all around. Like, it's more moral to eat the factory farm stuff because you're putting them out in their misery.
Yeah, fair enough.
The ones who are having a good time, yeah. Don't kill them.
Don't kill them, the poor things. Well, that was great, wasn't it? I love pork.
Shall I eat that before it goes? Oh my god.
Oh my god,
that was so good.
Yeah. Do another sausage.
Do you know? I've got the flavour of that amazing pulled pork, not pulled pork belly.
Do you want pork pie?
Can I have one for later?
Yeah. Right, we're going to move on to Britain's favourites. Oh, it's a big one.
Each week, folks, we discuss one of Britain's favourite dishes, be it pizza, be it hamburger, cheeseburger, whatever, and we talk about how we do it, how we could improve it, hacks, tweaks.
Sounds like your sex life.
Hacks and tweaks.
You never know. Anyway, this week is...
Roast potatoes.
Wow.
Roasted potatoes.
Roast potatoes.
Which I know we have talked about them before because we talked like Christmas dinners and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I know your kind of method is quite different from mine, isn't it?
Well, I like a big one. You like a small one.
I don't like a small one. I like to go I like it all over the place. I don't like them even. It doesn't sound rude, but in a way it does. But there's no sense to it.
I like a big one because it holds its shape better in the oven. I think it gives you, I always say, cut your potatoes big because it gives you a better chance of being an idiot and forgetting about them. Because I've worked in kitchens where I've seen people like peel kilos and kilos of potatoes and they put them on the stove, they go around, do something else, come back and they're like, fuck the potatoes. And they've all turned to mush and you've just lost loads of potatoes. So I'm just like, make them big. You've got better chance of getting that nice crumb on the outside.
But will you cut? Because I like the crispy bits, so I will I'll cut at an angle so you get some points and some to get some crunch.
But it's all relative. It's not relative. It's all what's the word?
Subjective.
Yeah, that would do.
Yeah.
Like how you like your potatoes. The one thing I do hate about roast potatoes is angular, waxy ones that you get in like a Toby Carvery that are just like.
Oh, they're just like
they've got a bit of a concave. They're like pointy, sharp. You try and cut into them, they don't cut. It has to be a fluffy potato. There's no questions about it. Maris, King Edward's.
Oh yeah. Well, I think the type of potato that's really important. What about the whole parboiling thing? Would you do that?
Well,
I don't always.
Oh, I do.
I would say 95% of the time I do, but sometimes when I'm in a hurry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more like kind of oven baked chips. But if I'm in a rush, just cut up, don't even peel, cut up potatoes, oil, nice bit of seasoning, put it in, jiggle them about a few times, and
it all just depends what you care about. It's like if you're wanting a fluffy, crispy exterior, you'd have to boil them. But if you just want a fluffy thing with like an edge, just chuck them in the oven.
Oils, what sort of oil would you go for?
It's such a Billy basic. I would just use a veg oil.
Yeah, I would go for a veg oil. Sometimes the cold pressed rapeseed oil, which is still quite cheap, and the really bright yellow stuff, and it does give a nice nutty flavour, I think.
Yeah, I always do. The Christmas series that I do, people go, "Why aren't you using duck fat or goose fat or like beef tallow?" And I'm like, "Well, if I've got a Veggie-Mate coming over, they're not going to have it, are they?" I'm just like, just use veg oil.
I mean, if I've got something like that, so if I make, if I make chicken stock and I'll skim the fat off the stock and I'll keep it in a jar in the fridge and roast some potatoes in that if I know I'm going to have them, and then you get a much more meaty flavour, which is nice. But yeah, I wouldn't do olive oil. I wouldn't do butter.
No.
Some people do. Seasoning.
They're crazy. I'm just a salt
generous.
Man. Yeah, very generous. Yeah. I'd salt the water heavily because the potato's sucky.
Yeah.
So water, flavour's obviously in the potato. So you salt the water so it sucks in. And then that also helps dry the skin a little bit. People put vinegar in the water. Have you ever done that?
Never done that.
Heston does it with chips. It's something to do.
What does that do?
It's something to do with making something break down, so therefore it helps the edges crumble. It also helps them dry out. Don't know the science. Something.
Right. Yeah. No, I've never tried that.
Let them steam, part boil, crumble the edges. Let them steam. Water and oil's not good friends. And then in the tray, hot.
What about the whole thing, which I've never done, of coating them in like a bit of polenta or flour or anything like that? I've never done it. I mean, I would imagine it's going to give you another
crunch
degree of crunch, but
it's not needed though, is it?
No.
I think that's the thing. There's so many like little fine nuances which you can do. But I'm just a Billy basic person. I just like it. I just like it to be there, big crunchy.
I do put pepper on mine as well. I'll put salt and always a lot of black pepper.
White pepper, black pepper.
I love black pepper.
Yeah,
I put black pepper on everything. And if I've got a bit of rosemary grown in the garden, I put some of that in there.
Yeah,
I like a bit of that.
I think that's a mistake that people do actually as well. They put garlic in too early.
Yes, or chop it up or something like that, which is no way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the best thing if you want to put garlic in would be to, in fact, what I would do is I'd just take a whole bulb of garlic, put it in a bit of foil, put a bit of oil on it, shove that in with the potatoes, and then when everything's done, then squeeze the garlic out and mix that all in, and then you get that nice roasted garlic.
Oh.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Would
Like
you?
that. No.
But it's nice.
It's nice.
No.
It's one of those things that, again, I think it's the social media thing. Where you just
Have
see
you seen
everyone
too many
goes
people
like,
squeezing garlic out?
yeah, oh God. But they never cook in the moment. That's the thing that annoys me, because I do that and then I'm like, how do they squeeze it out? They don't have asbestos fingers. They've obviously done this.
Oh,
And
I
they've
see,
sat
they've
there for
waited.
45 minutes.
Oh yeah, I've got like a tea towel out around
Yeah.
the foil
I'm
and
like,
everything like that, and then it's all over the place. And
napalm fingers,
yes, no, I don't. Maybe you should come off social media.
I did for 2 weeks.
Do you know? Sometimes do you think it'd be great to just get rid of all that, just not be on it?
I have to go back to real work.
I know it's tricky though, isn't it? Listeners,
That's it. Set up my OnlyPans.
so there we go. That's potatoes. Parmesan. Do you need to parboil them? You don't need to, but it is better if you parboil them.
Struggling to read. I don't know what's going on.
Have you ever done that thing? I tell you what. Here's the thing. You were saying about using big potatoes because you forget about them in the oven. I've never forgotten about them in the oven, but what I have done is I've forgotten about them when I'm doing the parboiling and then gone.
That's
and
the
then
bit
it's
I'm
like,
saying.
oh, I see. I thought you meant just the general roasting.
No, because the first part you have to parboil. And that's
Yeah.
where
Oh no,
people-
that's
potatoes
when
turn into
yeah,
mash.
yeah.
So I'm like, give yourself a chance of being an idiot.
Right.
And then if they do start to crumble, then at least you still got like a
yes,
big
because
bit.
that is when I have gone. Oh, they've been in too long, and then
But I think that's the thing, that the part boiling process is part. It's not full boil.
Oh, of course, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's, I think people do them and like test them with a knife and go, oh no, they're not quite done yet, and then they expect that bit to be fully cooked, whereas all you're doing is just getting the edges to crumble, because
so
that
that then
internal
you can get
part is
more.
just raw.
Yeah.
That's why it's called a roast potato. It's not called a boiled roast potato. It's parboiled.
What about there seems to be a fashion for half roasting them and then squashing them all down to flatten out, so they're kind of like. I mean, I guess you get more crispy bits, but I think they look as nice when they're all flat like that. Do they?
Well, I think it's just one of those things. It's like, you look at a roast potato, it is a roast potato, and then someone's like going, how can I change it to do something different?
Yeah.
So, I'll do it with Stilton and sage, which is very nice. Don't
Nice.
But then they're like a crushed roast potato. It's just like one of those things that add to the name of the recipe to make it sound cool.
Yeah.
Piss off. Just cook me real food, weirdos.
Each week we have listeners' questions and stories and wines, and we're going to move straight into that.
Let's go.
With number one, Dan says, to rub or not to rub? To rub or not to rub, are all these rubs worth the hype?
Focaccia.
Some are, some aren't.
Some are, some aren't. Some days they may be good. Some days they may be shit.
I mean,
there's so many good ones, and there's so many good ones that you can just copy and make at home yourself.
yeah.
I mean, but we could say Field Blends, Tubby Tom's, Adam's one that he sent me, Angus and Oink. They did some really good ones and some really weird ones. There's so many. ADHD Delicious, Daryl, my mate, that he does them. If you look at the ingredients, they all just gravitate around the same thing. So that's why, if you look at a fajita blend or anything like that, just go and look at it and just read the back of a packet and go, have I got that in my house? Yes. Mix it together, it'll probably be delicious.
I would say that the danger with things like that, which I do love them, but I think the danger is becoming reliant on them. It's like the loudness button on the hi-fi, and that suddenly you go, well, if I haven't covered everything in these rubs and these sprinkles, then it just tastes of nothing, and you've spoiled your palate.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to like the, talking about Adam and his smoking stuff, and then like the British idea of barbecue and the American idea of barbecue. Like America is very rub centric.
Yeah.
Like if they're doing smoking, they'll cover it in lots of things. But British barbecue is, just meat on a grill with like a nice dip.
Yeah.
Potentially. So it just depends what you enjoy, I suppose.
Yeah. No, they're good. They're fun to play around with, but just
not in a bedroom. Stacey Dooley. Stacey says, what are, is that a word? Well, what are? I've never seen that written.
Where's
your top 5 your pantry ingredients? I got told by my Irish mate because I was being stupid. You saw the thing where I was trying to split the G with a glass of water.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I was just
nice
doing
bit
it
of face
silly.
acting again.
Yeah, and I was just like doing it, and he was like, "Don't you like enjoy the drink, but don't take the mickey out of it?" I was like, "Mate, I was just drinking a glass of water. Like, grow up, you weirdo."
Silly.
Anyway, so what your top 5 dry pantry ingredients that you think everyone should keep due to their affordability, diversity, and longevity?
Oh God. Why
don't you do 3 and I'll do 2?
Because
I'll go first.
Because
vinegar.
I am always crippled by choice.
I know, that's why I gave you 3. I'll go vinegar.
I mean, salt and pepper, but then they're regular,
they're
aren't
already
they?
boxed off, yeah.
I mean, it's like, are we talking like anything like rice or
Well, that's what it says, but it says what's your ingredients that think everyone should keep due to their affordability, diversity, and longevity. Vinegar, I think, is just brilliant because you can make pickles. It's just go buy some from my website. It's just really delicious.
Tahini, I use it loads.
Wow, there we go. Good one. I like that. Very positive.
You'll go.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go cumin seeds.
Okay.
I think they go off go through quite a lot of things.
Yeah, I go through it. I a lot of recipes call coriander, more coriander and cumin. Is it cumin or cumin? I never know.
I don't know.
Cumin. Anyway, I agree with that. Mustard.
Yeah, good one.
Love mustard. Put it on everything.
I'm a bit of a spice person, so I would say saying like smoked paprika. Because I like it if you're making like a chimichurri or something, a bit of smoked paprika through that. You're making a tomato sauce, smoked paprika through that. If you're taking a little bit of mayo, a bit of smoked paprika through that.
Is that 5 we've done?
There we go.
Stacey also sent a wine, and it is this: bay leaves. I'm sorry, but all these years I've put them in things and feel like I'm just putting them in obligatory. I think it just means that I feel like I'm just obliged to put them in. And I feel like they're phasing out of recipes too. So maybe I'm not the only one who feels this way. They taste of nothing, or I haven't gotten good ones in the last 20 odd years.
Yeah, the dry ones are crap. There's no point.
Fresh ones
delicious.
Grow a bay bush in your garden.
Baby bush.
I made some plum jam the other day, and I put bay leaves in with the plums. And I don't think it worked. I looked up how can you make plum jam more interesting? And there were lots of suggestions saying put bay leaves in. But I think it gave it almost like a tea, like kind of, when you have like strong tea and it's slightly kind of tannin-y, kind of dry too.
I think it's an interesting ingredient that gets used in quite specific things. It's not one of those ones that will be like, oh, let's just add anything to it. It's quite like a stocky or a stewy kind of thing. It's not like something you would shred up for a salad.
No, imagine. I mean, if I make a bechamel sauce, I'll put bay leaf in. And if I don't, you can really taste the difference.
Yeah.
It's really distinct there. So there we go.
No? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I have. It's very similar to which we've had in the past of people seasoning their food before they taste it. Kind of getting, I might have put too much salt in. You're adding salt. You haven't tried it yet. But it is the few people who put ketchup on everything. I've just realized, when you, on absolutely everything. And it's like, try it for, I remember my friend.
Give us like an example of like a hatred of.
Well, a friend of mine, he was going out with a girl, and we were up in Edinburgh performing, and she was coming out to visit him, and he said, oh, she's really into food, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I look forward to cooking some food for her. And he said, I've just got to warn you, she does put ketchup on everything. I was like, oh, come on. He said, it's just the way she's brought up, but ketchup just goes on everything before she even tastes it.
What did you make her? Good luck putting ketchup on this.
Angel Delight. No. I think I made her a burger.
Ketchup people. Yeah, I think if it's something weird, then I'm like, yeah. If it's a natural, I put ketchup all over my eggs. I'm really into eggs, scrambled eggs, ketchup.
No, fair enough. But you know what I mean? It's like it's in
roast dinner.
Yes, or I think she would put it on that or
I actually did that the other day. I had roast chicken and potatoes, and I was like, "Oh, ketchup."
No, but that's fine. It's your choice. But you know what I mean. If if someone made you this, oh great, it looks really nice. Have you got any ketchup? Taste it. There we go. That's a wine.
Anyway, see you later, wine.
At the beginning of the episode, we had a question, was
which meat dish is said to have gotten its name from riders who kept the meat under their saddle.
Imagine that, listeners, putting a meat under your saddle.
Any
I've got a bicycle.
Guesses? Any further guesses?
When I bought my bike, I was
pedal?
Quite a lot heavier than I am now.
Pedal bike,
pedal bike. And I bought a Brooks saddle, one of the nice leather ones. But I got the one that's got springs at the front and the back, like really well sprung. So I thought I want it to be really comfy. And then when I got it with all the packaging and everything, it said for the larger commuter, which I thought was a really, really sweet way of saying
good marketing
for big fat man.
Fat boy. Good luck, fat boy. So the dish is
it beef?
Yeah.
Is it kind of jerky-ish thing?
No.
What is it?
Steak tartare.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It is said that the Turco-Mongol warriors called Tartars would keep meat under their saddle, which would then tenderize and would be eaten raw.
Interesting.
That's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's good to know where that came
episode.
from.
Wonder how long it needs to stay under there for.
Maybe I should cycle from Brighton to London.
Yeah, in your fat boy saddle.
On my big fat boy saddle. I think naan bread looks like a saddle.
Yeah. I ended up doing some photos for won't say, but it was naan pizzas.
Yeah.
And they were like, can you not make this look like a saddle? I'm like, you gave me a naan bread
Yeah.
that looked like a saddle.
Yeah, I don't like the shape of them.
No.
And they look like a kind of skull as well.
Traditional, they're just a circle.
Like the Scream.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great painting.
Do you like steak tartare?
Oh, sometimes, I don't know. I'm hit
It's all
and
about
miss.
the other bits that are with it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, the gherkins were nice.
Yeah, or the atmosphere. It's got to be about the ambience.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we wrap this up?
Let's wrap it up.
I like pork. I like steak.
That pork was epic. Thank you,
Adam.
Adam.
Oh, Aussie Smoker. Well, ladies and gentlemen, am I allowed to look at the camera now? I haven't looked at that screen once. I've got such a sore neck. Been really conscious.
Where is your camera? That's your camera there, isn't it?
That's my camera. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another episode of Stuff. I hope we kept you entertained and you enjoyed everything that we've spoken about. If you do care about us, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow and just fall in love with us because we're nice people.
Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Oh, I did your bit for you. Yeah, at the
matter.
Stuff Podcast, Instagram, YouTube, you know what to do. Love you. See you later. See you next week.
time.
Bye.
Bye.